Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Mon's PC Tips and Tricks. And in today's video, I'll be covering how to avoid common mistakes when building your PC. And within the duration of this video, I'll be covering 8 main mistakes that I've seen that beginners commonly make. Now, the first mistake is buying incompatible parts. Now, this is one of the first steps to the process of building a PC and one of the biggest mistakes that beginner PC builders make. For example, the CPU might not be compatible with the motherboard, or for example, any of the sizing doesn't fit with each other, like the power supply is too big or the graphics card's too long, any of those issues, or possibly even the RGB issues. For example, if you're using some fans that are 3-pin connectors, whereas the motherboard might have a 4-pin connector. Any of these type of issues is something you really want to research before buying your parts, as you can ensure that all the parts are compatible with each other and you don't see any issues there. Now, one of the major things that you can do to address this issue is by going on PC Part Picker and selecting your entire part list, and within that, at the bottom, if you scroll down, it will tell you if you have any incompatibility issues, and if you don't, you're safe and you can go ahead and buy those parts. Next, another common mistake that beginners do is installing the CPU wrong. Now, the way that this happens is when people try and accidentally install the CPU in the wrong orientation. And another common mistake is when people accidentally break the CPU pin. Now, obviously, to avoid this, you want to ensure that you don't touch the bottom of the CPU whatsoever, as you don't want to be messing around with any of the pins, as it could damage and harm your CPU. Also, to install the CPU correctly, what you want to do is lift up the lever and line up the gold arrow on the CPU with the arrow on the socket. You want to make sure that you let it sink in and don't force it into the socket. And then once it's in place, you want to go ahead and close the lever. Next, another common mistake that you see is the CPU cooler that does not install. Now, essentially, to fix this, what you want to do is you want to push down hard enough, but not too hard to the point where it damages your CPU, and you want to distribute your weight and push down evenly. And once you have the screws, you want to screw it in sort of a crisscross pattern. So you start bottom left, then top right, then top left, and then bottom right. And you want to go little by little. So for example, if you start bottom left, you don't want to fully screw it in. You might want to do it around like 30% and then go top right 30% and keep doing that in little increments to get it fully screwed in. Following this pattern, you will be able to make sure that the cooler gets secured in place properly. Next, another common mistake is the RAM sticks not inserting, and this was actually an issue that I also had when building my PC. And essentially, this can be a problem, as if you are using 2 RAM sticks, you won't be able to take advantage of the dual channel RAM, and the build might not even function if the RAM sticks aren't fully inserted. So what you want to do is, as you can see in that tiny little indent where you don't see that gold part, you want to line up that indent with the indent inside of the RAM port, and you want to push it in fully until you hear the click. But before you do this, you just want to open up the tabs by pulling them apart. You want to line up the indent and then push the RAM sticks in fully, putting 2 fingers on each side until you hear that distinct click. Next, another common mistake that I actually have right now as well within my PC is cable management. Now, this isn't obviously something that can harm your PC, however, it is certainly something that will prove to be extremely beneficial when trying out various things. So, first of all, it will definitely affect the looks of your PC. You don't want to have a bunch of different cables just lying around that can ruin the look of your overall PC. And along with this, if you're ever trying to fix an issue, if your PC isn't turning on or you're trying to put in a new part, anything like that, Not having good cable management will seriously be an issue, as you're going to have to go play around and try and find each individual cable. Whereas if you use zip ties, what you can do is group the various sections together, and some of these sections might include your fans, some of your splitter cables, your SATA cables, your power supply cables, etc. And another thing you can also do to properly cable manage is use cable sleeves slash extensions. Now you can find these on Amazon for around about like $20 Canadian, and they look much better and cleaner and will save you a lot of time trying cable management. And next on the list for the common mistakes is a lot of PC builders forget to change the RAM frequency once the PC itself has been built. And essentially, this is a huge problem as your RAM will underperform as to what it can actually do. Now, what you want to do is once you're done building the PC, you want to go into the BIOS by turning on your PC and spamming the delete key on your keyboard. And once you're into the BIOS, you want to go to the memory section and switch the RAM frequency to the correct amount that is set for your RAM. So the RAM that I bought has 3000 megahertz clock speed, so I changed that RAM frequency to 3000 megahertz. Next, you want to ensure that you get your drivers. Now, this is a huge issue as if you're not getting your drivers, your CPU or your graphics card will not be optimized for any of the things you're trying to do. So it is extremely important that you go search up the drivers and install them. So for example, the graphics card I have is the GTX 1650 Super, and I would just search up 1650 Super drivers and you would see it there. You want to get it installed, and you want to remember that you want to keep checking for updates to make sure that your drivers are up to date. And last but not least, you want to set the correct refresh rate. I cannot stress how many people I've seen get like 165 hertz monitors and some of those higher refresh rate monitors and forget to change the refresh rate in the settings itself. Now, this is a huge issue as if you are getting, for example, let's just say 200 frames in a game, but your monitor is only set to 60 hertz, that's all you're really able to see. So you want to set it to the correct amount or the max amount that your monitor can go up to. And to fix this, what you want to do is go to the settings on the PC, then go to display, scroll down to advanced display settings, and then press on display adapter properties for display 1. And then you can see right there is the screen refresh rate and set it to the correct or the highest amount for your monitor. Anyways, that's all for today. I really hope you guys learned some of the common mistakes that you can avoid when building your PC. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to comment them down below. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Thanks for watching.